Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Joffy Noodle Legs here with Al Sullivan as always. Say hello, Sullivan. Hello everybody. So we're here today with a different little video. This video is called 12 Horror Gems. Basically, oh, he's so tired. He's tired. Basically what it is 12 horror films that I think are real gems in the sort of horror genre. When I mean gems, I don't mean like jewelry. I mean like really good sort of horror films that are good to watch. Not all of them will be like massive titles. Like obviously some are obvious, aren't they? Halloween, The Thing, all Alien. All these films are all obvious gems in the horror genre. So some of these are not. Some of them are, I've already talked about before, but some are not. So I'm going to just show you a few of these today. And the first one is, of course, Pieces, of course. It wouldn't be a noodle leg sort of gem video without Pieces in it. You guys all know that this is one of my favourite slasher films. It's a very 80s cheesy slasher film. It's pretty much based around a high school and the kids are being killed off by a killer with a chainsaw, and it's obviously the useless police can't solve it, so they get one of the kids to solve it really for them. Really is. But it's really cool. I just love the film. This edition is the Arrow one, which is great, and I've told you before, it's got like an audio commentary on there of like an audience in the cinema watching it, and you can hear them laughing and sort of cheering at the kills and stuff like that. That's a great film. So Pieces is one of my 12 gems of horror. Another one, it's one that I've not spoke about very much, and it's just got a second one out. And this is the first one. This is Orphan, about this young girl who's very sort of evil. She doesn't get her way. It's like an evil girl, really. That's what it is. Don't want to tell much about it because the new film's come out and you might not have seen it. So don't want to give you any plots away on this one. So yeah, watch it. It's a really cool little gem of a horror. It's really cool. It's quite a dark film. Or when I say dark, I don't mean there's no lights. I mean like it's like the dark sort of storyline, you know. It's really cool. Orphan. It's another gem. Next up is a series of films. I have to put a series of films in because they're all sort of like hilarious. They're all cheesy. They're all gory. They're a superheroes film, and it's the Toxic Avengers films. This one contains the all four of them. The first two are brilliant. The second one is probably my favourite. I do like all of them, but they're really cool. And the second one, he goes off to Japan looking for his dad. Yeah, it's a cool sort of film. It's about a nerdy kid who's a cleaner at a school, and he's always peeping on girls, peeping Tom. And so the kids play a prank on him, and he falls out the window and lands in this toxic waste, and he becomes like the Toxic Avenger. And it's quite good, and he sort of like helps crime, and he gets a girlfriend who's blind, which should have to be, so because he mutates into a not the most attractive lawyer. He's still better looking than me, but yeah. And so they're a really fun film, the Toxic Avengers. Classic sort of 80s cheesy gory sort of films, a bit like sort of street trash, that kind of film, you know, sort of small budget but great film. So that's another gem of horror, and that's the Toxic Avenger series. Next up is a classic, which I've spoken about quite a few times. It's a classic sort of a franchise, and they're just getting a new remake coming out in October. This is Clive Barker's Hellraiser. Now, it's a real gem of the horror genre because it's the imagination that's gone into it. It's just like phenomenal. And the sort of the demonic sort of creatures that are in it. These like Pinhead and all these people that can get summoned by this box. And basically, that's what it's about. The first one is about an American and his wife moving to a home in England, and his brother was staying there who had this box. He's opened the box, letting all these ghouls out, and that's pretty much what it is. And she finds the remains of him and helps him create himself back to sort of normal. It's a classic film. It's an 80s classic film. Clive Barker is the sort of genius of, like, he's like a modern day Lovecraft, if you ask me. He's got that sort of brain, and his creatures are really sort of like really cool. So Hellraiser is another one of my 12 gems of horror. Next up is a 90s film. Yeah, I think it's about 1990, something like this, come out with Tony Todd and Candyman. Again, it's one of those sort of films that sort of, I don't know, when I watched it, it was like, it was cool, but yeah, it was nothing new. But when you've watched it a few times, you can see what it actually brings to the actual genre, and it does have some sort of like really cool, unique sort of personality to the film, which I really liked. And Tony Todd is sort of like really, um, he's really creepy, but he just makes the perfect sort of villain. He reminds me of Kane Hodder a lot, the sort of perfect sort of villain in horror films. So that's Candyman. Obviously, it's a story of an urban legend, of a guy that's killed people, including children, in a local neighbourhood. It gets investigated. If you say his name 5 times, 4 times I've said it, so I'm not saying it again. He comes back and sort of like kills you. So that's that one. And you thought I was going to say it, but not. Next one is another 80s classic with Chris Sarandon and Roddy McDowall, and that is Fright Night. This is a fantastic film. It's a vampire film. It's a comedy. It's a horror film. It's about a young teen. It's a typical 80s film. It's got that 80s film look about it. And next door neighbours move in. Turns out to be a vampire. He's sussed it out. Nobody believes him. So he gets Roddy McDowall, who runs a late night sort of horror show on TV, to come and help and find him and get rid of the vampires next door. They did make a second one, and it's had a remake not so long ago, which was dreadful. I am going to be doing a top 10 on remakes, guys. I know I don't like them, do I? But there's a top 10 coming. Keep your eyes out for that. This is a really good film, though. If you've never seen Fright Night and you like 80s horror, then you haven't seen anything really, because it's one of the classics from the 80s, a real gem of the genre. So, getting there now slowly. Next one, I talk about this a lot because it's one of my favourite horrors of all time, and it's definitely one of my favourite horrors of modern times. And of course, it's The Witch. It's a fantastic film. It's a proper horror film to me, like The Wicker Man and things like that. It's a proper horror film. It's not about the gore or the action or the slashers or the splatter. This is about the story, and it's a horror story, about a poor family that get banished from the town they're living in, and they try to set up their own little farm, and because they haven't got the skills, they just can't do it. They can't farm properly, they can't catch animals, and they've moved into an area which has got a witch living in it, and so they're sort of, they're doomed really. So that's a really cool film, The Witch. It's a gem. Next up is I think this is a 1990s film. It's a zombie film, and it's called Pont Paul. This is a real gem in the horror genre because it's no other film like it. It's a zombie film with no zombies. Basically what it is, it's based in a radio station, and there's a few people, obviously the people that work there and the DJ, and he's having like a phone in, and there's all this stuff going on outside, and a couple of people manage to get in and get sort of refuge in there, and basically all the horror what you hear over the phone calls live outside, and they're trying to stay safe within this radio station without actually any zombies getting in. What a unique take on the zombie genre. It's really cool. I say, oh, boring, no zombies, but it's not. Seriously, it's not. It's really, really cool. And it's really tense. It's a really sort of like intense, gripping watch. It really does keep you on the edge of your seat. So that's why that's a gem. And not many people talk about it, and that's Pont Paul. Sullivan's Lane on the other ones. 1980s slasher next, starring, starring Jack Palance and Martin Landau and Donald Pleasance. And this is Alone in the Dark. Oh, what an amazing film. This came out around the sort of the Halloween, Friday the 13th sort of time, and it is like a bit of a Halloween clone. It's about a group of it's mental, this is the right word, but mental patients escaping a mental asylum, pretty much, a bit like Michael Myers, and they're all in there for different crimes and the different murders, and they get out one night. I believe it's probably Halloween, but they get out one night and they wreak havoc on the nearby town, and it's like a Halloween sort of clone, really. But what an absolute gem! What a cast! Um, it's such a good film, really, really cool, and it never gets spoken about. This needs, if anyone from Arrow ever watches this, or 88 Films, this needs a Blu-ray conversion. It really does. This, you can't buy it in DVD in England. This is like Spanish, I think. You know, you can't buy it here. So it's all in Spanish. I had to get it from Europe. Luckily, it's multi-regional and it still has the English soundtrack. But yeah, Alone in the Dark needs to be picked up urgently. It's a great film. Right, next up is a more modern sort of a horror film. A British horror film, and it's The Ritual, an absolute gem of a film, this one. Basically, it's about this group of lads going on like that. I think they get together every year or so, and they have like a boys' sort of field trip. And they go, I believe it's somewhere like Switzerland or Norway, somewhere like that. They've gone for like a hike, and they come across a sort of witchcraft cult and creatures that live in the woods. And it's a survival horror, and it's such a good film, really well acted by a group of actors I've never heard before. Again, just DVD, no Blu-ray release. It really needs it. It's really scary and suspenseful, and it's quite unsettling. There's a little bit of gore in there, you know, sort of look away from the screen sort of moments, but it's a really, really cool film, and that's The Ritual, another sort of horror gem. Getting to the close now, because that's 10 horror gems, so we've got 2 more to go. Next one is another 80s slasher monster movie, if you like, and that's Trick or Treat. This is about this heavy metal fan dude, young lad at high school. His favourite singer gets killed in a fire, and he's really down about it, and he visits the local DJ, the local radio station, who's Gene Simmons from Kiss, who plays the part of the DJ, and he gives him this rare recording, this record, and he tells him, "Oh, I'll play it at midnight on Halloween Eve, whatever," and he plays it backwards, and there's a hidden message, and it gets played. If it gets played on air, he comes back to life through like the electricity and stuff, and he sort of like kills people. They got the rock star that's been killed. He comes back to life by playing this record backwards. Really cool 80s teen popcorn horror flick is Trick or Treat. It's amazing. Last one, not least, has to be my favourite zombie film, really. Absolute gem to the horror genre, and it's George Romero's masterpiece, Day of the Dead. Love this film. Obviously, the zombies have taken over the planet. There's a military sort of outfit down underground. They built like an underground place, and they're down there with a few doctors that are doing some experiments on the zombies, and they fall out with each other, the military and the scientists, and it turns into a zombie gore fest. Really cool film, great film. This is a great addition. Really cool edition. I love these cases. I don't know why Arrow stopped doing them. I really liked them. It comes with like a comic book of like the movie, which is really, really cool. And this edition also has different versions of the film. It's over 2 discs, and it comes with a poster. Really, really cool. And reversible sleeves. That's my favourite sleeve. That one there. It's the one I remember on the posters. There's a shot there from the film. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Day of the Dead, an absolute gem to the horror genre. So guys, they are 12 gems of the horror genre that I think are fantastic movies that need to be watched. Maybe not in a lot of people's top 10s. A lot of them are not made my top 10s, but they are real gems. They're great films to watch. You know, you just think, oh, that's a real gem of a film, that. And then because gems are the films that turn into your favourites. You know, you find one film like Pieces. I found it and watched it. Oh, that's really tacky and bad. I loved it. Then I watched all the special features, and I watched it with the commentaries, and then with the audience commentary, and then I watched it again, and now it's one of my favourites. You know, it's become an absolute gem to my collection. So, guys, is there any that you like that are your sort of gems? Write them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what your sort of gems in the horror films are. I will be doing another gems one, but it's going to be on the films that are non-horror. Just to give you a little break from the horror. But I've got a few film reviews coming up, and I've also, like I said, I'm going to be doing a top 10 of horror remakes. Okay, it doesn't mean that they're great. Okay, it doesn't mean that. I'll talk about them when we make that video. Anyway, till then, go and check out some other channels, some YouTube channels, the horror hands, the horror geek, Man v Film, Sarah of Horror, Horror and Todge, RS Designs. Go and check them all out, please, guys. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.